Good evening once again. It is time to dust off the mask. Tonight, we'll be doing some Reddit horror stories, spooky tales, creepy things that go bump in the night. In the future, I might switch to a different site for our nightly horror stories, just because we don't know what Reddit will really bring for us. Could be bad, could be good. We'll have to see as we read more stories. Our first one is titled, We Found Other Survivors. None of us can leave. I think I know why. I don't know how long we had been driving. Amara was in the passenger seat, feet on the dashboard, somewhere between asleep and gone. I was running on 3 hours of sleep and kind of focus that kicks in when panic has been going long enough to feel like a personality trait. The highway had been empty for hours. Everything had been empty for hours. We did not talk about what we had seen. You get to a point where you talk about it, it just means living with it twice. We found the facility by accident. The road broke off from the main highway without a sign, curving downward like it was trying to stay hidden. Amara spotted it first. She put her hand on my arm without saying anything, and I slowed down and we both looked at it. The white light coming from somewhere underground. Steady and electric and completely impossible given everything going on above ground. We looked at each other and drove in. There were maybe 30 women inside. They were standing in silence when we pulled in, and the look on their face knocked something loose in my chest. It was not relief, and it was not welcome. It was something closer to terror, and underneath the terror, something that looked almost like grief. Several of them had guns. I rolled down the window. Hey, we are looking for... Shut it off. The woman was already running towards us, whispering so hard it came out like she was scraping the words off the back of her teeth. The car. Shut it off right now. Do you understand what you have done? We slowly got out. The engine ticked as it cooled. It was too loud, she said. Her hands were shaking. She looked at us the way you look at someone who had just made a terrible mistake on your behalf and cannot take it back. They heard you. They are going to come now. You have to hide. Everyone, go. Right now. And all the women moved at once. They scattered, and every one of them already knew exactly where to go. Behind equipment racks, between wall panels, into corners. They lay down or pressed flat and closed their eyes and went completely, perfectly still. The woman grabbed my wrist before she dropped to the floor. Well, eyes closed. Do not move. Do not open your eyes or you will die. She closed hers. I grabbed Amara's hand, and we found a gap between two panels and pressed ourselves in, and I shut my eyes. I heard before I felt them. It didn't sound like footsteps, but it felt like a pressure change. The air in the facility got heavy and close, and then there was a sound I did not have a name for, coming from too many directions at once. Metal doors flew open somewhere across the room. They were fast, uneven movement. And then suddenly, still, and then fast again. Something came close to me. I felt the temperature drop before I heard it. A wave of cold air, and then something at my throat. Then at my collarbone, taking its time. I was prepared to be attacked, but it moved. I do not know how long I stood there, but it was long enough that my legs started to go numb. Then the woman to my left made a sound, something small and involuntary, the kind of noise the body makes when it has been rigid too long, and something in it gives without permission. They were on her instantly. In the chaos of it, her hand found my leg and grabbed hold. fingers closing around my ankle with everything she had left, and the force of what was happening to her dragged me sideways. I went down hard, cheek against cold cement, something warm hitting my face, and I lay there with my eyes shut. I did not move. I could not move. I pressed my face into the floor and stayed there and let her hand go slack around my ankle, and I did not move. Eventually, the sounds moved away. The door closed somewhere across the room. The pressure lifted and the air came back. The woman to my left did not get up. Her name was Priya. I learned that afterwards. She had been at this facility for 2 weeks before we arrived. She had a daughter whose photo was still on her phone, sitting on the cot where Priya had slept. The phone was there in the morning, but Priya was not. Her cot was made and things were arranged neatly. She was simply gone, and nobody said anything about it. I moved through the rest of the day without thinking about her again. Sierra seemed to be the one who ran things. She had short hair, a quiet voice, and the kind of stillness that comes across from surviving something so many times it had stopped feeling like survival and started feeling like existing. She sat us down and explained the rules the way you explain something you have experienced too many times and no longer expect to change anything. The things came when there was anything too sudden or too loud. They assumed they had no eyes. If you were still enough and silent enough, you became unappetizing to them. There was an alarm. A red light that came on randomly. No pattern anyone had been able to find, but always at the same hour of night, when it did come. When the light went red, the things came with it. 30 seconds, maybe less, to find your spot and close your eyes before they were already inside. In the beginning, some of the women had tried to disable the alarm. Whatever they did made no difference. The alarm came regardless, and when it did, the things came faster. Like the disruption itself was something they could track. Guns made it worse. Someone tried it in the beginning, but the noise sent them into something beyond frenzy, and it cost 4 women before it ended. And the exit. Sarah mentioned it the way you mentioned something that had stopped being worth feeling anything about. No matter what they tried, they could not cross back through the way they had come in. She did not explain further, and something about the way she said it may not ask. The days settled into a rhythm. Between the night, there was food and quiet conversation, and a vision or routine that almost felt like a life. We moved slowly. We spoke softly. We exited the facility the way you exit somewhere you are not sure you are allowed to be. But something felt off, my body even then, and I did not let myself look at it directly. It was hunger. I was always hungry. Not the regular kind of hungry that food fixes. A deeper hunger. Like something was being taken away from me at a level I could not locate. I was tired in a way that sleep did not touch. I told myself it was the stress. I told myself it was everything we had been through before we found this place. We were all noticing, but not one of us was saying it. 3 weeks in, Amara came and found me. She had been quiet for days in the specific way she gets when she had been pulling something apart and finally has all the pieces in front of her. She sat down close and kept her voice low. "I need you to do something right now. Without thinking about it first," she said. "Look at your hands and count your fingers." I looked at her. "Just do it." I looked at my hands and counted. 11. I counted again. 10. I counted a 3rd time and lost track somewhere in the middle and had to start over. "Did you know when you are dreaming, you cannot count your fingers?" Amara said quietly. "Your brain cannot hold the number steady. It keeps changing." I looked at my hands again. The count kept coming out wrong in a way I could not pin down. Part of me wanted to tell her she had lost it. I counted my fingers again. What about those things that come at night, I said. They only exist here, in the layers. And the people they kill die here and do not come back. I thought about Pyra, about how I had not thought about her once since the first morning, about how her phone was still on the cot and none of us had touched it, and none of us had said her name again. Amara, if we have been dreaming this whole time, I stopped. Where are our bodies? She did not answer right away. Whatever is happening to our bodies in the real world is bleeding into that dream, she said firmly. The mind does that. When the body is in danger, it does not just shut off. It translates. It turns what is happening into something that dreaming brain can process. She looked at me. Those things that come at night, I think they are the dream's version of something that is actually happening to us right now. Somewhere real. And the hunger we feel, the way our bodies feel wrong, this is too real. This is our bodies sending information through our only channel they have left. The ones who get killed here, I said. Something is reaching them in the real world, she said, and the dream is how we are finding out. We brought it to Sarah. She listened to everything without interrupting. When Amara finished, Sarah was quiet for a long time, and I watched her face and could not read it. Count your fingers, I said. Sarah looked at me, and then she looked down at her hands. Something moved in her expression and was gone before I could name it. She did not count. She got her notebook and opened it to a page near the beginning and set it on the table. I have been keeping a list, she said. Every name I could remember, every woman who has passed through here. She turned it towards us. 47 names filled the pages in small, careful handwriting. I do not recognize a single name on this list except the ones who are still here, and Pyrrha. She paused. I wrote all the names down myself. I know I did, and I cannot remember a single one of them. Nobody spoke. There has to be a way to wake us up on purpose, I said. If we train ourselves to do it during the attack, when they come, we scream the word awake inside our heads, over and over, until something breaks through. The problem is we cannot open our eyes to check anything without giving ourselves away. So, writing the words on our skin is the last resort only, something to look at if screaming it stops working. But the moment you open your eyes, you are visible to them, so that has to be the very last thing. Why only during the attack, Sarah said. If we are dreaming right now, why can we not wake up now? Because right now it feels completely real, Amara said. There is nothing to push against. The dream is too stable, but during the attack, the fear creates a break between the two layers. This is the only moment the edge becomes accessible. It is the same reason you can wake yourself up out of a nightmare when you almost never wake yourself out of a normal dream. The intensity is what opens it. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. In the beginning, we tried to fight, she said. Stay loud, resist. Every time we did, more of them came. Faster, like something was adjusting. She folded her hands on the table. I used to think they were hunting us. I am not sure I still think that. Nobody asked her what she thought instead. We wrote the word wake on the inside of our left wrist in black marker just in case. Amara spent the days between practicing, trying to find what it felt like to hold two things at once, the dream and the awareness of the dream, so that when the moment came, she would not lose it. 2 nights later, the alarm went off and the lights went red. I found my spot between the panels, pressed my back against the wall, closed my eyes. I held the word in my mind and I waited. They came in fast. The cold hit first, and then the sound of them moving through the room, and the fear came with it. Clean and total. the kind that does not leave the room for anything else. I screamed the word awake inside my head over and over, and nothing happened. From across the room, someone was being attacked. I could hear it, and the screams that followed was cut short in a way I will not describe. Something shifted. The floor shook. More sounds. More than one person. The room was falling apart around me, and I was still not waking up. I had no choice. I opened my eyes just enough to look at my wrist. The letters were moving. I screamed the word again inside my head with everything I had. Nothing happened. Something was moving toward me from across the room, fast and getting faster. I was out of time, and I was still asleep, and I was going to die here, and Amara's hand closed around my wrist from somewhere. That was not the dream. Cold, real, shaking. I was awake. Stale air was the first thing I noticed. I opened my eyes. It was the same walls, but gutted and dark and old. Half the lights dead, the rest throwing a dim yellow over everything that made the room look like something abandoned mid-thought. There were pods lining the walls, arranged in rows across the floor, each one just wide enough for a body, tubes running in and out. Most of the monitors above them dark, a few still running on whatever power was left. Some of the pods had cracked open on their own. One was happening inside the ones had been happening for a long time before we had woken up, and whatever had gotten to them had not heard us yet, was still focused on what was already in front of it, and I looked away before I could see more than I had already had. Amara was beside me, her hand still on my arm, barely able to stand. She was the thinnest I had ever seen her. Her eyes were sunken and awake in a way that looked like it had cost her everything she had left. I looked down at myself. I did not recognize what I saw. The skin on my arms hanging loose, bones I had never been able to see before. I touched my face and felt my skull too close to the surface and understood all at once what the hunger had been telling us the whole time. All around us, the other pods were sealed. The woman was still inside, still under, eyes closed, monitors running, still in the facility, still holding from the red light, still believing the dream was the only world there was. We moved to the nearest pod and tried to open it and could not. We did not have the strength, and there was no mechanism on the outside we could find, and whatever was still in the room with the cracked pods had started to register that something else was awake in the building. We could hear it adjusting. There was no time. There was no way. The only thing we could do was get out and come back with help, or come back with something, and that is the thought I held onto as Amara pulled me toward the exit. There was a car outside, parked with the keys inside. We got in as fast as our bodies allowed. I drove because Amara's hands would not stop shaking. I don't know when exactly it started happening. It was not one moment. It was like watching a photograph fade while you are holding it. By the time we hit the highway, I could not have told you what the inside of the buildings looked like. By the time the sky started going gray, I could not have told you why my arms looked the way they did, or why my hands could not stop shaking, or why every time I looked at Amara, I felt something close to grief, but could not find what it belongs to. I knew something had happened. I could feel the outline of it, but when I reached for the specifics, there was nothing there. Suddenly, I became aware that I was speeding, and I could not remember why I was in such a rush. I found the map in the back seat. 3 routes marked in a red pin. 2 of them crossed out in my own handwriting. I did not remember crossing them out, I stared at the X marks for a long time and felt something behind a door I did not want to open, and then folded the map and put it back. Amara's hand came to my arm. I looked up. Down the highway where the road curved and the tree line broke, a white light was coming from somewhere underground. Steady, electric. I looked at the light. Something in me said no. Something in me said keep going. I reached for the feeling, but it was already gone. I looked down at my hands, and it looked like I had 2 extra fingers for some reason. Quickly blamed it on exhaustion. Amara and I looked at each other, and we drove in. Well, I believe that story was quite interesting. The ending definitely implies a loop. They've done this at least 2 other times, still trying to escape. But as the title said, there really isn't a way to escape. For the next story, I will be reading Something is Wrong with the Cars in My Town. I've heard tales of angels since I was a child. That's just the part of things I think out here in the Appalachian stretch. Angels and demons, and all manner of things in between. I'm only 14, but it feels like half my life has been spent listening to people talk about all the things children ain't supposed to talk about. Something between Sunday learnings and being perched on my grandmother's knee. But in all that talk, it's never really been fear talk. It's been talk about fear and things to be afraid of. And sometimes even why I should be afraid of things beyond my comprehension. Just not this. This is my mother on the phone, frantic, trying to convince my grandmother to pack it all up. I don't know why she's bothering. Even the old Penroe fire wasn't enough to get Granny out of her house last year. Why would my mother think angels would? Or I guess maybe it isn't the angels exactly. I guess it's more the cars that are sort of turning themselves into angels, or something close to that. The great multi-eyed beast, wheels upon wheels, with fire burning on their insides. That's probably it. I know it is. I leaned against the door to the kitchen, backpack clutched against my chest, listening in. Mom, you've got to leave. I know you don't want to, but I can't stay. I've got to get my kids out of here. Mom was crying. I didn't hear her cry all that often. I could practically hear my grandmother arguing, insisting, claiming that even the force of God himself wouldn't be able to send her away. This isn't God, Mom insisted. This is a freak of nature. Something's wrong with the chips in them. That's all. Yes, Mom, they've got chips. All the new cars have them. Please, just... I pulled away from the door and inched my way toward the window. They were all covered up, blankets over the top of the curtains. Not a scrap of light let through them. I peeked. Why? Looking back, I don't know. That's just what kids do, I guess. We peek when we shouldn't, and we talk when we shouldn't, and we watch all the adults stricken down with fear of a sort we've never seen before, and we just don't understand it, so we don't act the same way. Damn, kids are stupid. I was stupid. I am stupid. It was daytime. The angels were out. They aren't really angels. I know that now just like I knew it then. But still, it's all I could think about. Cars and tractors and motorbikes with all their windows and mirrors and headlights flashing like 1,000 eyes. Wheels spinning and kicking up dust as they circle all the houses in this slow, perpetual way. A car backfires, letting out a crash of thunder sound and a belch of flames. I jumped back straight into my mother, She put a hand on me and said, trying not to sound like she was still wet-eyed, "Did you pack?" I held up my bag. I had packed. I just didn't know what I was packing for. "Your sister's not picking up her phone. I bet she let it die. Over at Gracie's. We're going to pick her up on the way there. I thought the people on the radio said to stay inside." "Don't argue with me," Mom said, and then she just grabbed my hand and hauled me to the back of the house. She opened the door. I could hear all the angels roaring and talking to each other. The hellish racket of engines revving and wheels squeaking and the door slamming over and over, so hard that sometimes there would be a pop crackle of a window shattering. We took the path through the back garden, hopped the fence, and headed for the dirt road. Looking back, that was probably the stupidest thing we could have done. After all, if the cars were angels, the roads were the will they traveled on, a place people didn't belong. But they were also the only thing connecting us unless we wanted to try and brave miles of unmapped forest. So, guess we just didn't have a choice. Things were actually quiet at first. The angels were circling the house, looking for the sinners living within. So the road had actually gone quiet. We were almost at the bend that led to Grace's house when the road trembled beneath our feet. I could feel it up in my chest, the warning call of a being far beyond our own scope of knowing. And in my mother's eyes, I saw it, the fear. And in my own heart, I felt it. Fear. Run. My mother shoved me. I stumbled, dropped my bag, and kept going. Mom was hot on my heels. A horn blared. An old black Cadillac skid around the corner. I screamed. She screamed. The angels screamed their holy chorus as my mother's foot caught on the handle of my dropped bag. She hit the ground. The car went straight over her, splattered my mother over the dirt track like an overripe peach. The skin peeled right off. The flesh came right out. It was more red than I had ever seen in one spot. The car rolled back over her. I swallowed bitter bile and took off for the house. Was I crying? I think I must have been. It's hard to remember now. I guess sometimes the pain and the sadness is just so much inside of you, it almost doesn't feel real. I'm sitting here now typing all of this up, and I don't know. Did I cry when my mother died? Did I cry when I killed her? I think I must have. The houses rose up in front of me, with all those angels and their singing and their belching and the flames spittering from their rusting exhaust pipes. I barely avoided an old 2-door truck as it came for me, vaulted myself over a knockdown fence and made a beeline for Gracie's front door, ready to rip it open and get my sister and go somewhere. But the door wasn't closed. It wasn't even standing anymore. A tractor had propelled itself into the front wall of Gracie's house, taking it down. Gracie was under it. Her blood stained my shoes. I went up and up and up to the top floor and then the attic. I ran through the house, looking everywhere I could, calling my sister's name at the top of my lungs, screaming it until every angel in the area was circling Gracie's house, circling me, waiting, and counting my sins. But she wasn't there. She isn't here. I am. Sitting up on the roof of Gracie's house, all the angels still prowling below me. There's no way I'll be able to get past them and go somewhere else. I think I might be stuck here. Forever, maybe. Or until someone else has more sins than me and draws the angels away. It's getting dark now. All the eyes are lit up now. halo bright in the otherwise dark night. There are fires glowing in the distance. I don't know if I cried when the angels took my mom, but I know that I'm crying now. I started writing this because I wanted to know if anyone else out there had seen the angels, but I don't really care about that, I think. I just want to know, have you seen my sister? That was definitely another interesting story. An adaptation where angels that judge your sins are in the form of cars. I don't know if I would have ever thought of car angels. It's definitely an interesting spectacle, but in many ways, strangely symbolic of what we all refer to as the biblically accurate angel, rings of fire swirling, with multiple eyes. To portray that in the visage of a car, I guess that's one way to think about it. Those have been two scary stories for tonight. I'm deciding to leave this one be a bit of a shorter episode, because I think that's how some horror stories should be. Shorter episodes to really let you think about them. Boggling it down with too many horror stories could dampen the experience or the effects. But it's now time to take off the mask and let it collect dust once again. I hope to see you all in the next episode.